fantastic. Like, it's fantastic fun. It is extremely fun to drive.
Oh yeah, you gotta get it. All right, so we thought that this Slingshot, which we found on Craigslist, was probably already sold, but we just saw it on Auto Trader as well. So we're hoping that that's a good sign that it hasn't been sold yet. Jack's about to call the guy.
Hello?
Hi, I was just wondering if you still had the 2016 Polaris Slingshot, the blue one, for sale?
Yes, I do.
Nice. I'm pretty interested in it. I was wondering if you could meet today, maybe?
Yeah, I will be at my house until about 6 o'clock. I'm going to dinner with my wife, but come on by whenever you get a chance, man.
All right, cool. I'll be there around 3 if that works for you.
Perfect. I'll see you then.
All right.
I'll send you the address.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, bye. Hell yeah, dude.
3 o'clock? What time is it? It's 11 a.m.
All right, I don't know how to drive a stick, so the test drive is gonna be a little interesting. I'm just gonna tell the guy that I don't know how to drive it, and if he can just cruise me around a little bit, and then if I like it, we're gonna buy it, take it on home, so let's do it.
All right, let's do
All
it.
day.
Why don't you? Oh, you like it?
I like
PLO grind month.
Tell me what's been going on.
All right, so it's week 3, or it's the end of week 3. We're wrapping up 3 weeks of online PLO play, and so far the results have been fantastic from a monetary standpoint. We've been slacking on hours a little bit. There's been a couple of reasons for that. Jack, Chris, and Alice had an excellent showing at the WPT last week, so we had to celebrate a little bit. And then we're also playing in the Windstar River Series coming up over the next couple of weeks, and that already started. So our hours have been a little bit down for the online play. We're gonna try and kick it up a notch for the rest of the month. Probably not gonna make it to the 200 hours goal, but that's okay. We're gonna do the best we can. All right, let's look at the results. Now in week 1, we came off of a $3,700 win and about 44 hours of play. Came into week 2 and booked a $5,600 win Now, when we entered the month, we were playing 50 cent $1 on a 5K bankroll. Pretty quickly started taking 1-2 shots, and then by the middle of week 2, 1-2 had become our main game, and we were taking some shots at 2-4. So moving up pretty quickly, and the results just kept adding up. We were off to a flying start. Now, we only played 28 hours that week, and then entered week 3 and put up only a 30-hour week. So the hours have been down for sure, but we managed to book another $3,500 win in week 3, which brings our total for the entire month up to $12,185 of profit through 3 weeks of play. So overall so far, the results have been great, the hours have been bad. Let's look to improve. All right guys, so we had a couple of interesting concepts come up this week towards the end of the week when we started shot taking in 2-4. I started thinking about what are some of the best ways to shot take, and I remember originally when I first started shot taking for 2-5 live at the casino, I was waiting for the situation to be just perfect, right? I wanted to walk in and find a game where I looked around the table, there wasn't a single player that I was a little intimidated of.
Sure. Whoa. Wow.
No 2-5 regs, just a game of all passive players that were happy to just limp it around, let me ISO whenever I wanted, let's see a flop and I'll value bet. Obviously, it's really hard to come by games like that. So if you ever want to get your shot take through, then you got to open up your shot taking range a little bit, so to speak. So this week online, I started thinking about what kind of dynamics could I look for in an aggressive game that would allow me to take a shot. We get asked pretty often about shot taking. So one of the first things that I noticed, or that I was thinking about when I was looking to move up to the 2-4 games, is, well, there's a lot less passive players. So what kind of dynamic can I get from these aggressive players that would still allow me to profitably take a shot here? So one of the first things that I came up with was shot taking in aggressive games with a short stack, where it's pretty easy to get the stack in pre-flop and just get a quick double up in, or at least get it in with good equity with the chance to double up quickly and kind of jumpstart the session. You know, you can easily put a stop loss on yourself and say, well, I'm gonna take 2 or 3 short stack buy-in shots in this game, and let's say we're playing 2-4 and we buy in for 200 3 or 4 times and bust it. Well, we can just quit and say, yeah, we lost $600, but whatever, we got a shot, we got some experience in the bigger game, and we'll come back and take another shot later, right? We kind of limit the damage. But you never know when you're gonna get that first double up through, and then the game plays big throughout the night, and you end up running off like a 3K win, and then giving yourself all the ammunition you need to just keep playing the stake, right? Sometimes the first shot's the only one that you need. So I started looking to shot take by short stacking in some of these 2-4 games, and I would look for dynamics where the seat that was open was to the right of an overly aggressive player, and we're gonna use his high 3-bet and pre-flop open frequency against him. So we would still open a fairly liberal range and expect that if we're 3-bet by this specific player that we're targeting, that we're pretty much gonna 4-bet our entire opening range and get it in with this guy, as opposed to calling the 3-bet out of position, which kind of gives him the edge in the hand and allows him to profitably play a weaker hand. So I would open, and our 4-bet is essentially going to get our whole stack in. So we can look to open pretty much any hand that we're comfortable getting in against a 12 or 14% 3-betting range, and that can include, you know, a pretty wide array of hands, really, like even some hands that, you know, like contain a sort of dangler, maybe like an ace, king, jack, 8 double suited hand, right? That's not like a super premium, but it does pretty good against a 14% 3-bet. So we'll open and then look to get our stacks in pre-flop and get that quick double, and then if we happen to get stacked, let's try again, we get stacked again. You know, maybe today's not our day, maybe give it one more shot, whatever you're feeling on that specific day, but you can limit the damage while giving yourself a chance to start running up a pretty big stack. And I think just that, getting that initial experience in the game and hopping in and just proving to yourself whether I can or can't do this in the first place, instead of being scared of the money or scared of the players, like that experience kind of overrides the adjustments that you're having to make from your usual game to gain the experience. It's worth it. It really is worth it. So if you're on the fence about shot taking and you're wondering, you know, can I beat the next level? Can I handle those kinds of swings? How are you gonna know unless you give it a chance, right? And I think a good way to gain that experience is to hop in and take a couple of short buy-in shots and make sure that you're using an adjusted strategy that plays well, you know, so that you're still playing profitably, but give yourself a chance to get that experience in that game, maybe like on an adjusted circumstance where you can afford it. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been doing when I'm trying to move up from 1-2 and then to 2-4, playing on a shorter bankroll. Sure, it's not optimal to be playing shallow stacks in a loose passive game, for example, right? Those guys are going to be making their big mistakes, you know, on the big bets on the turn and the river. But we can find a different dynamic in a different game that allows us to take that shot profitably. All right, so the second concept is about transitioning from one game to another game. And these last couple of weeks, we've been playing some 5-card PLO as opposed to 4-card, which is what we were playing at the beginning of the month. And the rules of the game are exactly the same. You're just dealt an extra whole card in 5-card. And I feel like people are not adjusting very well. And I was just gonna tell you guys a couple of adjustments that I had made right off the bat that might help you if you're adjusting to a new game, even if it's not specifically 5-card, you know, just the thought process that goes into it. So the first adjustment that I'm making is trying to decide what is my pre-flop range going to be that enables me to get into the most good post-flop situations that I can, right? And sometimes we see hands that look really pretty, but because of the game dynamics or the players in the game, that hand isn't going to be able to get to the desired post-flop scenario that it's looking for, so we'd rather just muck it, right? And this can include some hands that look like pretty rundowns that you might play in a 4-card game, but now that we're playing 5-card and it's gonna be more and more difficult to get this pot heads up, the hand just loses more and more value as you lose position to another player entering the pot. You know, every time a new player enters the pot, we lose position to that next player, and we're now facing like a 4 or 5-way pot with what essentially is a couple of flush draws. Let's say we have a hand like Queen, Jack, 10, 8, 6, right? That hand looks kind of pretty if it's double suited, but it's just not going to be making the nuts often enough, and we need to mostly be playing hands that are going to be making the nuts. So I might toss a hand like that that's not going to be able to get to its desired post-flop scenario, which would be a heads-up pot in position. Instead, I'm going to add in some hands from later position, like the cutoff and button, that are weaker hands, like maybe a hand like Ace, 9, 9, 6, 4 double suited. Well, that hand is not a very strong hand, but it can make top set and or the nut flush draw. So I would rather do something like add that hand to my overcalling or over limping range, especially when we're playing deeper, and give myself a chance to flop a nutted hand, whereas a hand like the queen high rundowns look prettier, but really just don't play as well in games with these dynamics. So we're going to make the adjustment that we're looking to play hands that will only make the nuts at showdown, like nut flush draws, large pairs that can make top sets, especially if they contain some side cards that give them some rundowns that can make straight draws to go with top sets, and hands like that have multiple ways to end up making boats and flushes, because those are the ones that are really going to get you paid in these games where people are just playing way too many hands. So that was the first adjustment that we made right off the bat. And that just carries on over to playing post-flop, where we're just going to be having to toss some hands like, let's say we flop bottom 2 pair on a board like Queen, 6, deuce with 2 hearts. And we flop bottom 2 pair and the guy c-bets into us. Well, we have the option to call here and continue on to the turn, and we probably do have the best hand most of the time. The unfortunate thing is that our hand probably doesn't have very many ways to improve if we don't have the flush draw ourselves, and by the end of the hand, we're going to be looking down at what is still bottom 2 pair and can't stand any heat and is very unlikely to be the best hand by showdown. So a lot of times I'll end up just either tossing that hand, or in some cases using hands like that to turn into a bluffing opportunity on the flop if the dynamics are right, instead of using it as a hand that we're trying to get to showdown with. In replacement of that, we still need to have like a pretty solid calling range. So if we're going to be tossing bottom 2 pair, then we need to be adding in some more hands to supplement that. And to do that, we can add some hands that will make draws to the nuts. Like I would rather be floating with a hand like that has 2 backdoor straight draws and the backdoor nut flush draw, as opposed to a hand like bottom 2 pair that just doesn't have much of a chance to improve, even though right now it would be the best hand at showdown. So making some quick adjustments like that on the fly and just kind of switching those pre-flop ranges up, which leads to switches post-flop, enables you to adjust a little bit quicker to the new game than what even some of the other regulars are doing, in my opinion. And I feel like it's given us a nice leg up on the competition here in these first couple of weeks. And hopefully that's what's showing in our results, and it's not just the positive variance that 5-card PLO will also definitely have. So we're gonna keep playing some 5-card here into the last week of the month. I'm really excited to get the month finished up and post our final results. It's gone really well so far, and I'm excited about the upcoming week. So good luck us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Took me for a test drive. I really liked it. We pulled back into the parking lot. We pulled back in the parking lot. So loud.